And it's systemic, right, Nigel? It's right from the top. Like right from the top, it's about profits. And I get it, it's business. Businesses have to make money. But
welcome to the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.
If a business were to go, and I've said this for a decade now, as a sales rep, you want to make serious money and you want to have almost a zero issue business, go choose your top 10 suppliers and sell where they need business. Be their sales force. That's it. Don't deal on the load board. Don't deal anywhere. Don't only deal with those 10. No business that they can't handle, you don't accept. And everybody's like, no, you're limiting yourself. It's, no, you're not. 10 suppliers? Come on. All these companies that we got 10,000 suppliers. Yeah. And what? 0.01% of them you'll use every day. So you have 10,000 suppliers because they just happen to be in an area where you needed a truck. You have no relationship. There's no loyalty. It's a transaction. And if any one of those people don't make money, they lose. They have no desire.
We had this conversation yesterday, funnily enough, with regards how a salesperson can affect the driver. Because we were talking about a contract many years ago, a company in the UK called Holroyd Meek, who were a food distributor for Kentucky Fried Chicken. And their sales guy had gone into London and said, look, I reckon we can get an 18-ton rigid into London, driver find the retail outlet, do the delivery and out within 35 minutes. Now, they got the contract, but as soon as it had to function, it fell flat on its face because you can't do that. So it just shows the link between the sales guy and the person down here. Nobody had spoken to the person down here. Yeah. What's your average?
Mathematically, if you look at in, out, average time to unload, and mathematically, it might work. But so Andrew brought up a good point. Andrew was the driver we spoke to today. He goes, here's a good point that not very many people think of. You got a 16.5 bridge. I got a 16.2 load. That's 3 inches. Most people would say, well, it's 3 inches. It's 16.5 bridge. He goes, how do you know when they repaved, they didn't repave 1.5 inches higher, 2 inches higher? Yeah. How do you know that they didn't repave 3 inches higher? Yeah. And didn't submit the paperwork properly? Because as they repave, they're like, yep, yeah, okay, whatever, it's good. We're good. Yeah. Right? Like he goes, you match it on this side, so it's level on this side, but you don't put a laser level on it to know if it goes like this. He goes, so I have to go on the inside because that's where trucks have to travel. They can't travel in the hammer lane. They got to travel on the inside. And he goes, and all of a sudden, he goes, I've had routes where permits, meaning the state has permits that tells me I have to go a certain way. He goes, I'll be going down the highway and I'll see a bridge coming up that says 18.5. He goes, and I'll see a truck go under that bridge, and just visually based on the height of that trailer to that bridge, I know it's not 18.5. He goes, now I'm like downshifting, Jake brakes coming on. He goes, I'm doing everything I can to stop. He goes, I get within 50 feet of the bridge and the sign that's in 50 feet says these measurements aren't accurate. He goes, 50 feet. I've got an 18-foot wide load on. Yeah. He goes, what do you think that does? He goes, what am I supposed to do? Yeah. I go, what did you do? He goes, I had to call my escorts. They had to block the highway. They start calling my company and telling my company there's like 15 G's an hour that we're charging you for this because of all the cops and everything. He goes, I'm just following my permitted route. Yeah. He goes, like, it's a systematic breakdown of information that's leading to a lot of these catastrophes, like a lot of them. Yeah. And I'm like, holy crap, like that's like, as a broker, I don't think of that. Like I've done hundreds of heavy haul loads. I expect the states where we get permits to know what they're talking about. And it's funny because this summer we put in a pool. So I go to the town and I said, I need drawings of my septic. And 6 weeks later, I get the drawings back. The first thing it says is these might not be accurate. I look at the drawing, I stand out on my back deck, I look at the drawing. They have everything on the opposite side of the house. Had I not known where the septic is because of getting, putting a new deck up, digging down, realizing there's my tanks, I would have started digging. I would have started digging over here and hit it.
Yeah.
So like I sit there and I go, really? Like all these, call before you dig. I mean, it's just one situation, one circumstance. But some of the stuff he shared with us today was, Nigel, it was insane.
Yep.
Insane. I go, that happens to you? He goes, all the time. I go, really? He goes, yeah. Like driving for 2 days to get somewhere. They get there and they say, no, load was canceled. When was the load canceled? About a day and a half ago. So his dispatch let him drive empty for 2 days out to get a load that wasn't there. It was canceled a day and a half before. He goes, so it's not just shippers, it's not just brokers, it's not just salespeople, it's not just, he goes, it's everybody. There's a systematic breakdown of information flow. And to me, like I worked at an asset-based company. You don't let a driver run for 30 minutes out of the way. Because for him to turn around and get back on track is another hour, right? Like, it's not like, oh, I'm going to whip around at this U-turn and get back on the highway. It's like, okay, I got to figure out this. I got to go down here. I got to go down here. Oh, stuck. Okay, back up. I mean, there's so much more to it. And it was really eye-opening. Like if you have a chance to go back, and I mean, it was about 45 minutes. So it was quite a conversation. But if you have a chance sometime over whatever, and you can find that live again, go back and watch it, because I mean, he laid out some gold that as a sales rep and one that's carrier focused and driver focused, he taught me a lot. It might be a really good tool to share it with some of your customers and stuff.
I can relate to it. I ran a driving agency in the UK for 27 years. So I always built it on the triangle that the driver, the customer, and us as a business. You have to make sure that every part of the triangle is solid.
Yeah, or else it'll crush. It'll crumble.
You haven't got a business.
Yep, I agree. I fully agree with you there, brother. Oh, do I ever? Do I ever? So why don't we talk about sales communication?
It's well, I sent you the PDF with regards to you've got to love the process, and communication is a big part of that. I again yesterday was talking to somebody. It's just a conversation. What we're trying to do is just a conversation, but there's so much rubbish talked about it. That why and how people succeed in selling, I just don't know.
I think a lot of it, and it's very unfortunate, but I think a lot of it is just, if you make so many calls, you're eventually going to hit something. And I think it's a horrible way to build a career. I also think, Nigel, that most salespeople don't think of their job as a career, right? Like if we look at the tenure of salespeople, like I had read something the other day where like 42% turnover for salespeople. And I think it's crazy, because I've seen so many salespeople come in this industry and leave that were really good, and they could have made a real good career for themselves. But I don't know if companies focus on that. Like, I mean, I know brokerage companies that midstream change the deal. Yeah. Because it benefits them. Now, don't get me wrong. I also know companies and salespeople midstream, they disconnect, and the company honors the deal till the end of the deal. Then when the end of the deal is done and the company decides to do something because the salesperson's disconnected, it's the company's fault, right? I mean, I think we can, like, no matter what we do in any industry, we're going to go through that. But I think, like, from a nucleus perspective, the nucleus of sales is our career is helping people achieve their goals. And
the moment it's broken, that's broken. You've got to have the right mindset, but also you've got to have the right culture within the company. And I think in a lot of cases the culture is wrong. The
culture is based on commission. The culture's a paycheck. The culture's you need more numbers on the board. You need more. And
it's been proved time and time again. Carrot and stick. There's no motivation in carrot and stick. Get rid of it. Play purpose potential. That's what you need to build the culture on. But likewise, the mindset of sales guys, I think, is wrong as well. I've always gone into it that I get up on a Monday morning to help people visualize and then achieve what they didn't think was possible before they spoke to me. Yeah.
See, that is the mindset, Nigel. That's the mindset.
So if you go in on a Monday morning thinking that we're making phone calls just to discuss and have a conversation with regards endless possibilities of helping each other, that motivates me on a Monday morning to go and do my job. Whereas the number of salespeople I deal with all the time are going on a Monday morning thinking, I've got to make 70 calls today. Where's the fun in that?
Intention. All starts with intention.
Yep.
You know, you're absolutely right. Because, you know, I'm now going back in my head where even now it's like, okay, you know, my deal is I got to make 30 calls every day. Okay. So you mean in actuality, you got to have 30 positive conversations a day that help somebody move forward. Much better way to think about it than I got to make 30 calls today.
Yeah.
Right. And also, not only that, when I think of that verbiage that we use, because that matters, right? The verbiage we use, the way we speak to ourselves up here really matters. I have to make 30 calls today. No, I can't wait to make 30 calls today. I can't wait to connect with 30 new people today that I know I can help.
And
I
genuinely get excited about it. But the problem is salespeople, they go in with the wrong mindset, but the culture hasn't allowed them. I think there's, you know, we discuss what makes a great salesperson. I always think that a great salesperson understands how his company creates revenue. Okay. So you've got to have that understanding. He's got to have an understanding of how his prospect's company creates revenue. It also helps if he understands or she understands how the prospect's customers create revenue. Now you can have a business conversation. But not many people go into it with the mindset and that what I call business acumen in order to have a conversation. And
what do you find they go into it with? Like, what do you find is more of the perspective or not perspective, the mindset?
The scary thing, Dan, is they don't know. I was doing a role play with a learner the other day, and he was the context was, like an awful lot of SDRs, was to get the meeting. I got to get on the phone to get the meeting, and that was the target. So I was doing a role play, and I said to him, "Okay, I hear what you're saying. I agree to the meeting. Now, what's the purpose of the meeting?" He couldn't tell me. Yeah. So this is what I'm saying. You know, they're commission based to get the meeting. They get paid extra if they get the meeting. But what's the purpose of the meeting?
And when they get the meeting, if they had a purpose of the meeting, the actual account would probably close faster as well. Yeah. Because you would actually qualify, okay, if I just get a meeting, or if I get a meeting with this purpose, and that person says, well, this purpose really doesn't work in my timeline right now because XYZ is way higher of a priority. Why don't we address it in 6 months? I would much rather readdress it in 6 months than try and chase a ghost, for lack of a better word, for the next 6 months, right?
Qualify out early. It saves everybody's time. It saves everybody's time.
Qualify out. I absolutely love that. Qualify in, qualify out. That makes so much sense, Nigel. So much sense.
When I was in logistics, and I don't know if it's the same in Canada, but we supply drivers to industry. Okay. So having worked in the industry for 5 years, I realized how, when I set up on my own, I wanted to make money. I understood that. And the way I wanted to make money wasn't the way the industry had done it for years, which was the way they viewed it. Every driver was worth 170 Canadian dollars a week to the business. I never viewed it like that. Yeah, I viewed it, we've got to get what we offer right, and then we'll make money. So we had drivers come in. Now, back then, I'm going back to the 93, drivers, it was basically, jump when we say jump and go to work. So you used to interview drivers and you'd say, okay, driver, what are you doing at the moment? Well, occasionally I get 3 days work. Yeah, not 5. Okay, so we really restructured it and said, right, what happens if I guaranteed you 5 days work, pay? Even if you didn't work, I'll guarantee you 5 days. Wow. Yeah. Okay, I'll guarantee you a company uniform so you're not messing up your own gear. Great. I'll pay you 4 weeks holiday. All these things I put into a package. So every 10 drivers we interviewed, we offered 3 and started 1. So you're starting to build a bank of people who are employed by you. So you've got them where you want them. Yeah. You've got, but you've got a talent pool, which is the best. They're the best guys out there. So you've sorted one point of the triangle, you know, the triangle I was talking about. You've got a workforce who you're confident can do the job. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then you look at the customer. The customer, for example, if the driver doesn't turn up at 3 o'clock in the morning when the transport supervisor phones you at 3 in the morning and says, can you send me a driver? If you haven't got one or he doesn't turn up, the cost to that person as an individual is an awful lot of hassle. You know that. He hasn't got anybody to move his rig off the forecourt. Yeah. So that's a big problem. But again, if you go further than that, the problem to the business is maybe a fine. That if the good isn't there on time, they could have a fine. So the thing starts to build. Yeah. Then you look at the end, the prospect's customers. So if you look at a supermarket, for example, if you're looking at distributing milk around the UK, if a supermarket doesn't get milk, they're not just losing the profit on milk, but in the UK, if somebody goes into a supermarket and there's no milk, they don't just say, oh, I'll get all my other shopping here. Yeah. They'll say, hang on a minute, I'm not getting anything here. I'll go next door
where I can get it all in one shot.
So you see the cost of this problem of not having a driver available suddenly escalates to it could cost, I think it was something like, I did my maths, £381,000 for the supermarket for that day. Yeah, Canadian dollars.
That's crazy.
Now,
that's crazy.
If you go back to me trying to create money out of my business, once I'd sorted that out, I can charge a lot of money because I know how they create revenue, and how a driver not turning up in the morning affects all of this. So when somebody used to say to me, wow, that amount per hour, that's really expensive, I could justify it and why we charge that rather than saying, which was the norm, okay, I'll undercut the other people by 10% to get your business. Yeah. And then the problem was with that, if you do that, you squeeze the driver because at the end of the day, you haven't got a margin to pay the driver. Well, so
now you got to get second tier or third tier people that aren't going to do the job properly. And it's a cyclical cycle where now all of a sudden you stop showing up on time.
Don't show up on time.
You're actually cutting your own throat.
But they don't show up on time, or they damage the gear where they're there because they're not competent. Your fuel consumption goes up because they don't know how to use the, but very few people, I don't know if it's the same in Canada, in logistics industry. And as I say, I worked in it for 5 years before I built my own business from nothing. You talk to people and how are you doing? Oh, really busy. Oh, cool. I'm not making any money, but I'm really busy. And you think, what? Why would you want to do that? It always puzzled me. Why do you want to be busy but not making money? So look at it, and you will make money if you understand how to pitch for it. And I took great pride. I would negotiate my price if there was a company wanting to use volume amount of drivers. But other than that, that's my price.
And you know what? You have a mission. And when I say a mission, meaning you have a price that you need to accomplish the goals for the customer. I often say to salespeople all the time, I said, did you agree to that price? Because they're like, well, my customer's a pain in the ass and they're cheap. I said, but did you agree to that price? Yes. I said, so why are you calling the customer names? Like the customer said, this is what I want to pay. And you didn't stand your ground. You said, okay, I'll take that. You agreed to A, B, C, and D for $1,100, call it. Not A and B. And because you didn't have 1,500, you couldn't provide them C and D. You agreed to A, B, C, and D. And you agreed to $1,100. So tell them you need 15. Well, then I'm going to lose the load. So what would you rather, lose the load or lose your credibility? What would you rather? Because the load, you lose the load, you make $200, which is really, on the average 70-30 split is $60 in your pocket after taxes, it's $30, or your credibility for long-term customer retention.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden everybody goes, yeah, that makes sense. But brass is coming down on me to get numbers. Okay. Then have a conversation with brass, or go to a company that appreciates long-term client retention and long-term growth. Again, you have a choice.
And it is there.
It's all about choice.
It is there. I had customers for 27 years. In logistics, that's not a bad achievement.
That's like 4 eternities.
So it's not bad. But again, I always used to do, like we were saying earlier, qualify out early. So Mr. Customer or Mr. Prospect, if I deliver you X, Y, Z, the price will be this. Have we got your permission to work together further? You soon find out, whoa, that's way above what I was willing to pay. So, okay, if that's way above what you're willing to pay, what part of X, Y, and Z don't you want? Yeah, because that's what X, Y,
and that's a conversation to have before the agreement's in place.
Yeah.
Right. As opposed to, I'll take it. Oh, by the way, Mr. And I've had this too, where salespeople have come back, or actually early in my career, I've come back and I've said, listen, I know I said 15, but I just can't do it. And they've come back. So well, too bad. You said 1,500. Like, that's what I got. Or there's the good ones that say, okay, I'll give you 17. But again, there's that credibility issue, right? Like, if we don't know, you know what, Mr. Customer, give me 15 minutes, give me an hour. Let me just really see what's happening in that market in order to help achieve that. Because I could say yes, and then it might not be a case.
Yeah.
And I think as a salesperson, we're okay to say we don't know.
Yeah.
Like, we're okay to say, let me look into it, because you want A, B, and C, and D. I thought it was kind of A and B. Is that okay? Well, you know what? I got somebody else that can do it for A, B, C, and D. Okay. If you don't want to, and again, it's, I guess in the end, like, what's worth more, your image, credibility, and brand, or $50?
Yeah.
I think it's a no-brainer, right, Nigel? Like, I mean,
well, again, it's like, it's like a piece of paper, that's trust. Okay. That's trust. Once you do that with it, you can't make the piece of paper flat. Once trust goes, you can't get it back again.
I love, you just hit that nail right on the head. That is awesome. I love the way you did that. You're absolutely right. But I love the way you did that.
It's true in business. Once that goes, it's got to be a win-win. They've got to see what the benefit is of using one of my drivers. Yeah. But as I said, that goes initially back to, you've got to understand how you create revenue. You've got to understand how your prospect creates revenue, and you've got to understand how your prospects' customers create revenue. If you know that, you can start having business conversations. The problem is today, with regards this mad desire of ramping people up and boot camps, and they haven't got that acumen. And buyers are realizing that.
And you're bang on there, because you start looking at it and saying, if you have all this information and that is the mission, that is the focus, every single decision you make, that's the nucleus of that's the lens and how you see everything. And when you have the right lens to see things based on that triangle perspective, you're always going to make the right decisions. Now, they might not all work out, but your customer is going to know you're making the right decisions, looking after their best interest. Whereas if your decision is my commission, you're going to make decisions that better your commissions instead of the goal.
Yeah. Steve Jobs when Steve Jobs started Apple, he always said he never thought of creating money. He thought of creating something better. Yeah. And that's true. I always say to people I coach, imagine the person you're talking to has a pile of problems next to them. Yeah. If you can solve those problems, you'll have a customer. Yeah. The guy at 3 o'clock in the morning hitting the phone, to say, have you got a driver that you can send in this morning? he had a pile of problems. Now I can say yes, and I can send him a driver. Now he's not the person to speak to with regards saving a supermarket $381,000. That he's not the person. But then you've got a way in to a prospect that you can help them with their problems.
Because you already know they obviously have a systemic issue, or something's happened where something's
gone wrong. Precisely. And if something's gone wrong, they're looking for your expertise. The problem with an awful lot of SDRs, BDMs, or whatever the industry wants to call them today, they haven't got that knowledge.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I'm thinking back to clients, to operations teams where they have a third of the information that they really need to make educated decisions on how to create the best outcome, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
It's wow, you've given me
how
do you
negotiate if you haven't got the knowledge?
Well, but here's the thing is when it comes to that, negotiation, if you will, in today's market is I'll just drop my price, which isn't negotiation. It's just bottom feeding, and it's the fastest way to get to the bottom. It's not, do I drop? I mean, I would be, I don't know if you ever read Jeb Blunt's book, Inked, right? All about negotiation. I mean, the first 4 pages of that book, I'm like, yeah, that is so our industry, because it's always, okay, well, this person's offering $1,200. Okay, but that's not that person. And does that person have this, and this in the thought process? Or is that person just moving freight? And that customer, qualify out. I love that. I think are you okay if I steal that? Because I'm so into that. Qualify out.
Steal whatever you want.
Oh, that is awesome, my friend. Qualify out. Okay, so long term, do you see business as A or B? And if your mentality as a sales rep is A and they see it as B, qualify out right there. Why waste your time? Because again, right message, right person, you don't understand how they make money, how their customer makes money, how their customer's customer makes money. You're delivering the wrong message. Might be to the right person, but it's the wrong message.
Yeah.
And the faster, or faster, I don't want it to necessarily sound like that. The more we as sales reps, I believe, Nigel, and I love your opinion on this, the more we as sales reps focus on facts, desires, goals, opportunities, mandates for customers, the longer we're going to keep them. I mean, you just said you've had customers for decades. My longest customer is going on 19 years now.
Yep.
Like 19 years dealing with the same person. You imagine how many phone calls these people have had over 19 years, never lost a business, because they know when Dan looks after A, B, C, and D, and these 4 factors go into every decision he makes about my business. I think that's powerful, like so powerful.
And that's retention, and that's the security of the account, or whatever, however you want to phrase it. They know that you become the trusted advisor. Yes, you make money, but that's business. They're expecting you to make money, but they've come to you for expertise. You've always provided that. You've never lost trust. Yeah. And that's the way you develop it. But again, it's not difficult. What we're saying is not difficult. It just takes a lot of, I read something on LinkedIn the other day that I liked. Somebody said you need deep work. And what they meant from that is, all the knowledge that we're talking about, it's there. Yeah. Go and talk to people. It is all there. And then use that knowledge in order to have a conversation with business acumen.
Yes, I agree completely, because now you're getting to the root of what you really need to talk about.
Yep.
It's the only way. I mean, it's the only way. I mean, I see it as also, sales cycles go from, months to cut in half, maybe 60% less, or 40% less, maybe 30%, but your sales timelines close. They close faster because you're on the same page, you're on the same language. I often put it to, I love the lenses you're giving me today, Nigel, but I often put it to, saying like you'll meet somebody and they either become a good friend or they become an acquaintance, or it's after like 2 conversations, you're just like, and you probably don't say this to yourself, but like, we're not congruent, right? Like I'll meet people every day that want to be on the podcast, or every day that want to be interviewed, or every day that want to be part of the network. And I'll have a conversation. It's like, it's just, your message is not the message that the community that hear from us want to hear. And, and it's nothing against them as individuals. That's their message. You know, it's why it's why some people relate to Gary Vee, some people relate to Grant Cardone, some people relate to Bob Proctor, some people relate to Tony Robbins, some people don't relate to any of them.
But
they
again,
that YouTube guy.
That's another skill, and something that a lot of people, you know, yes, people like to deal with people they like. That's human nature. Mm-hmm. But you don't have to be liked to be successful at selling.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Because I've got customers I know that don't like me, but I'm a trusted advisor. I know my stuff,
results,
and I get results for them. Yeah, yes, and me, but for them. So again, you know, yes, if you can get liked, fantastic. If you're liked, and it's a lot, you know this, it's a lot easier to have these type of things if you like somebody. But yes. But don't, a lot of people, again, who initially get into sales kind of think, well, I've got to be liked. You can't decide that. You can't decide that. But I know an awful lot of people will like you if you put them first, yeah, and create revenue, or help them create revenue. Yeah.
You put them first, you help them achieve their goals. Exactly. You put them first, you help them achieve their goals, and you get them results.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, every business on the planet is about results. Yeah. Every business. Like, if you don't get results, you don't have a business. If you don't get results, you don't have a career. If you don't get results, you don't have a job. Like, and do you think part of it is, you know, I look at it and I say, like, most salespeople sell enough to keep their job, as opposed to being, you know, prosperous, as opposed to being, I'm going to say monstrous, but I don't even think monstrous is the word. Nigel, do you understand what I'm trying to get across? And and maybe I
do. And I was talking to somebody this morning whose son works for Apple. Yeah. Apple sales guys in the retail stores aren't paid any commission.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people would think that's really strange, but Apple have got the culture right. They've got passionate people who work with them because they love Apple. Yeah. If you go back to my employment, the times that I was in effect in a culture of carrot and stick, yes, I did it because I had to eat. Yeah. Mm. Did I do it for enjoyment? No. Did I start my own business because of that? Yes. Now, in my own business, did I set myself targets and commission? No. I did it, play, purpose, potential. And I had a ball. If you can find people who buy into the culture, they don't need the stick and the carrot. That isn't a way of motivating your sales force. Get them believe in what you're trying to do. I know it's a different way of looking at it,
but it's the only way.
I think that is the future.
I believe it wholeheartedly. I believe those that are passionate, those that have a culture of growth, you know, like and especially, you know, as well in the logistics industry, and I'm fighting it every day. And when I say fighting it, it literally is a fight every day, because the main thing that keeps coming back is, if I train my staff and they leave to go to another company and make the money, I'm like, but if you train your staff, they'll probably stay because you're creating an environment for success.
Yeah.
And really, that's what it is. And here's the thing, you'll keep the ones that want to succeed. Maybe ones that are in financial issues and they get a $10,000 signing bonus. And I don't think any company can avoid that. I mean, even Apple executives get stolen by other companies, right? So you, regardless of the culture, sometimes that's going to happen, but it'll be few and far between. And, you know, you look at the majority of your salespeople, every single salesperson pretty much gets any salesperson worth their clout gets headhunted almost daily, because it's what the industry is. Everybody's trying to get the big dogs on board. You know, so they're going to leave anyways. You may as well train them to help them achieve the greatest heights of success while they're at your company. And I think businesses and, you know, that are small-minded like that, where it's like, okay, I'm going to focus on this right now. They don't look at the big picture, right? They don't look at, okay, if I am the pillar of growth for this individual, that culture, not to mention what they're going to say about me in the marketplace, like about the company, about the logo in the marketplace, that's advertising that no Facebook ad or commercial or anything like that could ever give you. Like, that is old school, real deal advertising. It's like movies, right? You go to a movie, you say, oh my God, that was such a great movie, you got to see it. Within a very short period of time, everybody you tell that is going to go see the movie because you said it to them, if you're a trusted advisor, right? And I just don't, I think companies lack that mentality. Most companies, I shouldn't say all, most companies lack that mentality. And I don't know if it's a paranoid thing where it's like, you know, they bring in business, then that we got to go elsewhere. But I really think if we flip it on its head, you know, and like right now I see it as the triangle being with the point down, right? And it's teeter-tottering each way. Whereas you look at your perspective, you flip it, now you've got a stable foundation to stack all of that on. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And that's the way I think people need to start looking at selling. I don't know if it's the same in Canada. In the UK, you know, and I keep posting on LinkedIn, you know, our industry's broken. And
it's broken globally. It's broken globally. I mean, we've got 2 million TEU, just based on purchasing. If we were to distribute freight to every port in North America, we're still 2 million TEU annually, which is about 5,900 containers a day, 365 days a year, no holidays, over what we can actually handle. Like it's fractured, it's broken from everywhere. And it's a lot of non-manufacturing in-house because it's cheaper to do it overseas because profit's king. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. And not to mention, you know, and with all this stuff coming in, all these increased costs, people are dropping rates. They're still selling the way they were selling 36 months ago. Like, you and I have had this conversation back and forth on DMs and stuff. Like, sales changes, sales shifts. The fundamentals are always there, but sales shifts. And, you know, for us, it's broken. It's beyond broken. It's fractured.
Yeah. But as I say, it keeps us in money.
Well, that's right. It puts food on the table, and you know what? Hey, listen, we do a 360. Everything we see is touch the truck, right? So it's about the correction of it. And as a sales rep, I fully believe, you know, as a sales rep, my job is to mitigate negative exposure for my customer. Like, my job as a professional sales rep is to stay up on the latest things, what's happening, what's working, what's coming down the pipe, right? Like you talked about that profitability triangle. And if you understand what makes your customer profitable and what makes their customers profitable, you're paying attention to all those little tentacles that are being poked out in the industry, and you're saying, whoa, this might be a situation that we're going to have to pay attention to. And, you know, now you're bringing that to your customer. That's real value. Like, so many people think, well, value is just getting them cheaper rates. No, value is saying, hey, listen, you know, as we stand right now, November 2021, I fully believe if you're not having a conversation with your customers now about what 2022 looks like, what are the challenges? What are some of the issues? What are some of the major things you faced in 2021 that destroyed your profitability? How do we correct those in 2022? Do we get more efficient? And people say, well, rates aren't going to come down. I had a customer that we were doing B-train stock transfers. And every 2 weeks we would do a B-train. It was like $16,000 for a B-train, 110,000 pounds of freight. I came to them, I said, listen, like, costs are going up. These are going up to 18, 19 grand. Would you allow me an opportunity to look at a different way? It might take an extra hour to load, but you're talking $200 in labor costs extra to load. But I think we can cut it by 30, 40%. And they're like, is it going to cost us anything to figure it out? I go, no, I'll do it all on my own. Okay, go for it. So what we did is we ended up taking every B train load, and I created an entire SOP. I literally built by hand the entire framing, foundation, weight distribution, and everything to go in an intermodal container. We went from $18,000 down to $3,200 a container, so down to $6,400. So we literally every 2 weeks saved them over $12,000-$13,000 because they just did it a different way. We put it in. I got the OS&D. I got safety and compliance from the rail line to come in. We figured out how to strap it and everything. I went into their office and I built 10 truckloads of bracing and like all the weight, just 10 truckloads worth. Like we're talking hurricane straps and everything.
But this is great. But this is great, Dan, because you can tell that you're passionate about delivering for your customers. Yeah. So the fact that you've been dealing with them for 19 years, I'm not surprised because that comes over. What concerns me with our industry is I don't know how anybody can go on a 2-week boot camp. They say in America, you're drinking from a fire hose. Yeah.
Yeah.
They learn product knowledge. They learn sales skills. And then off you go. There's the phone. Why are we putting people up like that to fail within our industry? It doesn't make any sense to me. You need the knowledge. You need the passion. You've got to love your process. Now, the sales process, you're amending. That's what I call a dynamic document. That changes all the time. I'll hear something and I'll think, yeah, that's good. I'm going to say that. I like to say that, and you learn. It's all knowledge. Every meeting, for example, since 1993, I've attended. The first thing I ask in a meeting is, what would you like from today? And I shut up. Yeah. But that's my process. Somebody might look at the framework and have a different question, a different way of phrasing it. That's what we've got to teach people, but they've got to have the business acumen and the passion and the interest in the dark work and finding out all of this thing. Yeah. Don't let them sell before they have that.
And I love that you said that, because that's the first thing Oprah says when she walks into any meeting. What's the intention here? Like, what's the end result that everyone wants out of this?
Yeah.
Because that's the direction the meeting goes in. How many times have meetings gone, well, not when you ask that question, but many times for any other sales rep listening, meetings go awry. You go into a meeting saying, okay, I want this result. You come out of the meeting going, we talked about everything but that. Like, it's happened hundreds of times to me. I see it all the time. It's crazy. And I love also the fact that when you set that intention, again, you have the lens of what everyone wants. So you can direct everything to that. I'll give you a perfect example. I went into a company 2-3 years ago, and I didn't do that. Normally okay, what's the intention of everybody that in this meeting? I walked into the meeting and there was, I was going into a company to do sales training for the company. Okay. And listen to this. And here I am, admitting this outright. I had a conversation with the owner and the vice president. They said, we want this. I said, okay. They also said, our sales team, we allow them to make the decisions as well. So they're going to be a big part of this. I said, okay. I went in and the entire presentation was directed towards what the owner and the VP wanted. None of it connected with the salespeople. And I ended up losing out on probably close to 30-40 grand in business. And it's funny because I sat there and I said, whoa, like I was like, no, my programs are elite. Like, my programs get results. I have hundreds of students that are getting massive results. I know they work. I'm thinking, where did it fall? Where did it go wrong? And I start reviewing my conversation. And I walked into the meeting and just went, because I had a meeting with the brass, if you will. And I was like, okay, bang, 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 bang. This is what y'all want. And they're like, no, we don't want that. We don't want that at all. And so it's amazing the difference, because that lens completely changes when you allow people to say, this is what I'm looking to get.
But it's a mistake. I'm just going to read you something, if I may, very quickly. This is a
Of course.
mistake that so many people make. Okay. This I asked somebody to send me the first 15 seconds that they use on the telephone. Okay, first 15 seconds. So this is the first, hi, this is from so-and-so company. How are you doing today? I was calling you today to discuss whether or not you have heard about a vendor called. If so, do you already deal with them? If not, would you be interested in learning more about us? Yeah, we can bring a lot of benefits to your business For example, we can. Yeah, that's just an example.
Yeah, it's all you, not the customer.
They don't care about you. They don't care about your corporate slides or whatever. As I said earlier, here are me on the phone with a pile of problems next to me. Solve them. Give me the business acumen that you understand where I am, and I will talk with you and I'll do business to you. You know, you've got more of a chance of doing business together. But again, the number of people we set up to fail because they're being taught that that's the thing to do. Yeah.